Hello, my name's Brandy Brayman, and I decided to do my presentation regarding the 2012 Steven Spielberg picture Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis played Abraham Lincoln. The movie represents the last 4 months of Lincoln's life and the tactics that Lincoln used to try to get the 13th Amendment passed in Congress. Lincoln was a simple backwoods lawyer who used folk mannerisms to mask a formidable and cunning political mind. He was self-taught provincial prodigy with a salty native wit. He presented negotiations of the Gettysburg Address that was given to the Union soldiers in January of 1865. His personality and behavior: he was an uncanny American leader. He was mild-mannered and did not anger easily. He was passionate and would not give up until the 13th Amendment passed in Congress, which was to abolish slavery. He wanted peace and equality for all the people. He was a lawyer, legislator, and shrewd military strategist and savvy leader. Empathy is acknowledging and respecting the other person's values, needs, goals, and positions with the same difference you give your own. Lincoln was a storyteller and often told funny stories. He was an incredible leader and chose his words carefully and had a way of boosting morale with honesty. He believed in virtue, honesty, and was empathetic for his people. He had patience and spoke to many unhappy and happy citizens face to face with their concerns. He was sympathetic and caring towards those involved in the war and often visited hospitals. Lincoln is well known for his speech, the Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. Conflict management that Abraham Lincoln dealt with: the Civil War weighed heavy on his mind. The weight of the congressional majorities and the Democratic votes to pass the 13th Amendment. The radical Republicans trying to convince Lincoln slavery would be outlawed if the amendment passed. Rumors of the Confederate peace impacted the decisions of the congressmen for the passing of the amendment. They tried to get the amendment stall the amendment because of the rumors of peace, and Lincoln put a stop to that, saying that the rumors were not true because he really wanted this amendment to pass. There was a lot of uncertainty regarding the passage of the 13th Amendment. Conflicts in his personal life: Abraham and Mary Lincoln had 4 sons. Their oldest son, Todd, wanted to fight in the war, but they would not allow him to fight. And I think one of the reasons was because out of 4 children, they had lost 2. Edward Blake Lincoln passed away before his 4th birthday from pulmonary tuberculosis, and William Wallace Lincoln passed away at his 11th birthday from typhoid fever. Thomas Tad Lincoln III was the youngest of the 4 brothers, but all of the 4 sons, Robert Todd was the only one that made it into adulthood, that survived adult. Lincoln's negotiation process and the 5 stages of negotiation. There's the preparation stage. Lincoln prepared the negotiation for the 13th Amendment with the Emancipation Proclamation, which was an executive order to change legal status under federal law in Confederate states to free slaves. If a slave escaped from the Confederate state and crossed Union lines, they were considered free. The introductory stage: the introduction of the Emancipation Proclamation set the motion of the 13th Amendment. Lincoln fought for peace and equality of all people. The initiation stage: Lincoln, his cabinet, and the congressional men asked questions on the reluctancy to see the reason for the passing of the 13th Amendment. Lincoln used a squeeze tactic on his cabinet to persuade congressmen to vote yes on the amendment. The intensification stage, Lincoln put a more intense squeeze on his cabinet to work harder to get the opposed to get on board with voting yes. It took a while. It took many convincing, and not everybody was convinced, but they worked hard to try to convince those opposed why they were needed to pass this law. Lincoln may have had a little begging from them as well, because he really wanted them to see the vision for the amendment. The closing stage, Lincoln showed patience and creativity with his storytelling. He had a way with his audience to draw them in. He put a deadline on the passing of the amendment and pressured his cabinet to get this passed before the next election. His mission for the 13th Amendment passed on December 3rd, 1865, and slavery was ratified. Leadership encompasses negotiation and persuasion. Lincoln could think outside the box and look at things from another perspective. He could bring people together with opposing views and lead them to solve the toughest issues. He never gave up on his goals. He was intelligent, self-confident, assertive, persistent, adaptable, and sociable. He used his social power to bring people in and earn their trust. He was admired by the people because he was for the people. Lincoln's cabinet was a team of rivals, but he wanted it that way. He chose them because he wanted the brightest minds and he wanted to be challenged. He welcomed strong opinions and he provoked debates. Lincoln showed empathy and took in interest in others, which is why people liked and trusted him. Lincoln utilized his soft and technical skills with perseverance, achieving his goals with hard work and dedication. Lincoln set forth to abolish slavery and create equality among people. Lincoln was never baptized, he never received communion or joined a church, but did have thorough knowledge of the Bible. He often included many biblical references in his speeches. Lincoln had a profound sense of God's presence, accepted many central scriptural tenets, and followed Christian ethics. Here are my references. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.